St. Lucie Public Schools, with the assistance of the Roundtable of St. Lucie County, is a Kids at Hope district where we believe that all children are capable of success, no exceptions. Hello, and welcome to The Power of Hope. The Power of Hope is a show dedicated at discussing Kids at Hope in St. Lucie County. Kids at Hope is an international initiative that was brought to the area by the Roundtable of St. Lucie County and funded by the United Way, Children's Services Council of St. Lucie County, and the Roy A. Hunt Foundation. Kids at Hope is not a program. It is a strategic cultural framework based on three basic principles and practices. We believe, we connect, and we time travel. We believe that all children are capable of success, no exceptions. We connect with our children in a meaningful and sustainable way through relationships we refer to as ACEs, and we teach children to mentally time travel to 4 specific destinations. My name is Jared Stevens, treasure hunter, Kids at Hope School Community Liaison, as well as your host for the show, and I would like to thank you for joining in with us today to today's episode of The Power of Hope. We encourage you to join in every show this series as we discuss building a culture of hope. Now, you may be asking yourself, why did he refer to himself as a treasure hunter? Well, as an adult and a treasure hunter, I am committed to search for all the talents, skills, and intelligence that exist in all children and youth. I believe that all children are capable of success, no exceptions. Kids at Hope has 3 universal truths, with universal truth number 1 being children succeed when they are surrounded by adults who believe they can succeed. We are fortunate today to have 2 treasure hunters with us as guests that I know believe in children and that I know are doing their part to help build this culture of hope. So please join me in welcoming Representative Larry Lee Jr. and Fort Pierce Police Department Chief Sean Baldwin. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Today we will be discussing how the Restoring the Village movement works directly with the schools and how it all fits together into the Kids at Hope framework. Representative Lee, for the benefit of our viewers that may not be familiar with Restoring the Village, can you give us a brief description of your thought process when orchestrating it?
Well, thank you, Jared, again, for having us here. The Chief and I, and we started, the Chief and I, as well as Sheriff Mascara and a group of concerned citizens, we had a community meeting at Lincoln Park Academy where we asked the community to show up, and to our surprise, over 800 people showed up at that initial meeting. And the meeting was designed to listen to the community, to get feedback. And of course, we were very surprised at the turnout and the community's involvement. Alvin Miller, who is a minister who we asked to come back to moderate and host the program that night at Lincoln Park Academy, he and I began to talk about the village concept. And you have heard it takes a village to raise a child. So our initial meeting was a community call to action, restoring the village. And when I looked at that village, I said, let's make it a movement. So I talked with Alvin, talked with the chief, talked with the sheriff, the committee, and we all decided that we would just create a movement. And we had, with the chief's help, the sheriff's help, and some local businesses, we purchased 2,000 T-shirts to sort of give us some visibility in the community. And you might see these blue T-shirts all around town. And on the back of it, it has a little village, and it has Restoring the Village on the back of it. And on the front, it has, I'm a committed Pay It Forward team member. And we'll talk about what that means as well.
Okay.
So we felt that if we could create the village mentality within not just Fort Pierce, but throughout St. Lucie County, where people would look out for each other. When I was growing up, and I'm quite sure when the chief and others were growing up, I know here in Lincoln Park, in the Lincoln Park community, I'm often reminded of my mother. She would, the street that we lived on was Avenue O. And if you needed some sugar, she would say, go down to Miss Deotha's house and tell her to send me a cup of sugar. But that's the way the village operates. We didn't really lock our doors back then. And I remember my mother worked at the Fort Pierce canning plant. So many times some of the parents on that street would get home in the evenings before other parents, but they would watch their kids of their neighbors until that parent came home. And I think we've lost that over the years. So that's what this movement, we call it a movement, we're attempting to do, is to create that type of environment again. And we want to do it block by block. I had an opportunity to go out with the chief and the sheriff a couple of times where they were going out into the community, knocking on doors, getting people to know the law enforcement firsthand, talking to the head, not just an officer. And that was part of the village concept as well.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And I did attend the town hall meeting in Lincoln Park. It was very powerful. There was a lot of powerful people on the panel, as well as a lot of concerned community members that were in attendance that had an opportunity to voice their concerns as well. So I think the Restoring the Village movement is a great thing that's taking place right now.
Thank you.
Chief Baldwin, whenever I have a conversation with anyone in the area in regards to Kids at Hope, your name always comes up all the way to back in the inception of when it first came to the area. I know that you are involved and live the Kids at Hope belief system. I also know that recently the entire Fort Pierce Police Department has been trained in Kids at Hope. Why do you feel as though it was important to have the police department trained in Kids at Hope?
You know, to be honest with you, I'm a little embarrassed that we're just getting around in 2013 and training all the police officers. But just to take a step back about 10 years, we had Fort Pierce had a started experiencing problems with gang violence, and I think for too long we denied the problem. We in fact, I heard leaders in our community saying we don't have gangs, we don't have this problem here. And finally, the roundtable. I'm working with the roundtable. We did an assessment on what was going on in our community, and we determined very squarely that we were having a problem with gangs in our community. And we also determined why that was occurring. That's because there's an absence in these kids' lives. There's something that they're looking for, something that they need. So we spent a lot of money and a lot of time doing research, and found out what that absence was hope. These kids lacked hope in their lives. And we found this belief system that was called Kids at Hope. And I got to tell you, when I first, as a police chief, my first response is, let's go catch some bad guys and let's put some people in jail. But the more I studied the problem, the more I knew that we're just not going to arrest our way out of this problem. We've arrested, the Fort Pierce Police Department since the early 1900s has arrested tens and tens of thousands of people, and we still have issues with crime in our community. So we've got to change the way we're approaching the problem. And Kids at Hope, in the end of all this research and this study, Kids at Hope became the overarching strategy for our gang strategy on how we were going to fight gangs in St. Lucie County. And when I talk to people about Kids at Hope, I ask them, if I'm talking to people that are successful, I say, if you'll think back in your life, the reason why you're successful, the reason why you've gotten to where you are today is really two things. You had dreams, which we call hope, and you had somebody help you get there, and we call those ACEs in the Kids at Hope belief system. And I'm a Kids at Hope. When I sat back finally one night and I read the book for the second time, trying to make it make sense, because a lot of people around me loved Kids at Hope and I didn't get it, I sat back and I said, you know what, I'm a Kids at Hope. So it just makes sense. So here, several years later, we've actually trained everybody at the city of Fort Pierce. Every employee in the city of Fort Pierce has been trained in Kids at Hope. Every police officer now has been trained at Kids at Hope. And just sort of to answer your question more directly, why the police officers? We teach these police officers to go out and hunt bad people, and they're good at it. They're really, really good at it. But that doesn't translate real well when you're dealing with kids in our community. All of our kids may be up to a little mischief in the park or something like that, but that doesn't mean they're bad people. And they don't need to be treated as bad people. So our officers have a very difficult job in going out and finding the bad people and taking them out of our community. but they have just as an important role as identifying the good kids in our community and helping, being aces in their lives and helping them succeed. That's what happened to me. I had a police officer that steered me in the right way, changed my life forever.
Well, I think it's a great thing because if you think about it, in reality, a lot of kids, when they're at the younger age, want to grow up and be police officers or, you know, firemen or things of that nature, but something happens along the way where they either may have had a bad experience with law enforcement or a family member has had a bad experience. So in my opinion, by having the officers trained with in Kids at Hope, that not only helps them to do their job, but do their job more effectively, because they will have that building relationship aspect that comes along with, you know, correcting behavior. Representative Lee, so today we're going to talk about restoring the village. And one of the major parts of that is the pie chart that has came about. Like I said, I was able to go to the town hall, so I'm familiar with how it came about. But for viewers that weren't at the town hall, could you explain, not going down the committees, but how the idea came about of making the pie chart?
Well, Jared, what we believed that night was that we didn't want to, let me go back. We had on stage about 22 different organizations represented. We had the Fort Pierce Police Department, the City of Fort Pierce, the St. Lucie County Sheriff Department, the school board, United Way, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, Children's Service Council, Parent Academy, and the Health Department. We had all of these resources, and we wanted the community to see what was available to them. Many of them didn't know that some of these services were available to them free of charge. So once we did that, and each one of the people that set up on the stage on the panel were given 2 minutes to say who they are, who they represent, and contact information. So we felt that after doing that, then we need to hear from the audience. So we took a flip chart and we drew a pie. Well, we drew a circle, and we asked the audience to tell us how to slice this pie up and provide you with the things that we feel you feel that we should be providing to you. So they started to naming different things. So it was sliced into 8 different slices, and we then took that information and we had a follow-up meeting. And the chief and his department put together a very detailed video presentation that we showed at the second one, and this was information that these people had given us. And many times I think that movements and programs fail because the presenters tend to say, okay, this is what you should do. Well, what we did was opposite. We wanted the community to tell us, so they named these 11 things as things that we should be doing to help restore the village and to bring about some serious changes in Fort Pierce. And I also want to just digress for a second. I have my ACEs, because I went through the Kids at Hope training, and I was just really amazed about giving out ACEs.
Okay.
And every day, just share this brief story. Pastor James Brown,
okay,
and the ministerial community is a part of the PI, and Chief been working very closely with them. I think on a weekly basis he meets with them. But last Saturday, Pastor James Brown had an ice cream social at 4 o'clock, and they had a revival afterwards. And when I went over there were about 20 people there with the kids with the Restoring the Village t-shirts on. And what we do now is every week we look for an opportunity, Sean Boyle and I, and with some other spotters, if someone is wearing that t-shirt and they could tell us what Restoring the Village means, the message, what it's about, we give them $50. So that night when we asked the question, people had all of these t-shirts on, but they came up with all of these answers, but they didn't know the answer. Okay. And so when I finished, I had a box of t-shirts in my truck. Everybody rushed and said, I wanted a t-shirt. So we now have these little cards printed up that says Restoring the Village is a movement designed to help make our communities safer for everyone. And we believe, we included this a part of it, we believe all children are capable of success, no exceptions. And that came from Kids at Hope.
And you are exactly right. And with the assistance of Superintendent Yost, her and I sat down last week, and we looked at the pie chart, and we broke it down because in order for anything to be successful in the community, there has to be involvement from the schools, because our youth power or lead anything that we have taking place. So if we want to look at the chart here, at the top, one of the committees, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're not in any particular order. No. The first committee you have is church involvement. Church involvement from a Kids at Hope standpoint is your destination point, community, and service. From a school's perspective, the churches are very involved in the schools. You know, everything from tutoring, offering tutoring opportunities to back-to-school bashes. I believe all three of us were actually in attendance at the one at C.A. Moore that Pastor Sanders put on this year, as well as some other ones that were taking place. Many churches donate school materials. But outside of that, if I'm not mistaken, there with your church involvement committee, we have some other things taking place already with that committee, correct?
Oh, I have been so impressed by what the pastors have done over the last, well, I have for years. I've had I think a very good relationship with most of our pastors, and every time I've needed something, they've come forward and helped. But really over the last several months, I've seen just an incredible outpouring of just getting involved in the community. Representative Lee mentioned the ice cream social. It's actually the second one that we've had, and this was an idea that the pastors had, something they wanted to do for the community, and the goal was to help recognize the good kids in our community and do something good for the good kids in our community. You know, it's not simple, but it's easy to do something one time. When you do it the second time, that's when you know people are committed. So along with the ice cream socials, we have done, our pastors are riding along with our officers and actually going and meeting with the parents of people that we believe are involved in gangs, and just having a one-on-one conversation with them about the consequences of that and what it means and what help is available. We have a group of parents of murdered children that are coming together and doing positive things in our community to try to help parents that are in a situation and help prevent them from being a parent of a child that's lost in murder. And I'm meeting with the pastors once a month in a formal meeting, and then more often as we need to. And it's just been incredible. It's been a blessing to me and the community what the pastors have done. And they are powerful in this community. When they come together, they can get things done.
And that's great. That's a great transition actually to the next committee, because you started speaking about the parents. And parenting is another committee that Restoring the Village has formed by way of the pie chart. And from a Kids at Hope perspective, that is the destination point, home and family. And the schools are also involved with the parenting as far as educating parents and working with parents by ways of the PTOs, the parent-teacher organizations. Kids at Hope provides parent trainings, and schools have parent nights. And also advisory councils take place amongst the schools to help build that relationship and get the word from the parents as far as concerns and in ways that the parents can assist in the success of the child. Another committee you have is job training and employment opportunities. Again, with Kids at Hope, destination point, education, and career. It fits perfectly into it. All your committees fit directly into the Kids at Hope framework. Speaking of employment opportunities, the school district is the largest employee in St. Lucie County, not just Fort Pierce, but in the county as a whole. So job opportunities, employment opportunities have a large part to do with things that are taking place in the community, or should I say a lack of job opportunities. Would you, either one of you, like to speak on that?
Yeah, we heard it over and over in the community meeting, is that people need jobs. They need to earn money. We have some people in these neighborhoods that are impacted by violence, have grown up in generational poverty, and that's the way out of poverty, is to get a good job and to be able to earn the money that you need to help your family survive. And when people are just trying to survive and they don't have employment, you know, they may turn to things that are not so good for the community. So jobs is extremely important. We heard it over and over.
Right. Moving right along, law enforcement and crime watch. Now, somebody might not understand how the schools have a connection to that, but they do. We did a survey at a few different schools, and one of the main concerns of our students, and one thing that they wanted to be involved with, was helping keeping their community safe, or preventing crime, or decreasing crime. So you have students every day talking to their teachers or talking to their school resource deputies about different things that are about to take place so they can be prevented, or different things that may have already taken place so they can help find a resolution to that. And also with our adults on campus, there were different cases where, in my former position as a dean, where students would come to me talking about suicide or a neglect situation and abuse situations. And all of those fit directly into, because my next step is to law enforcement. So that's another way that adults on campus work directly with law enforcement, and the children want to be involved with crime watches.
Yes, absolutely.
Education, another committee. Obviously, the schools is all over that one in every aspect of the schools. And from Kids at Hope perspective, education and career, your ACEs of clubs, which are your other caring adults, because there are so many caring adults that are provided by way of the school system. Ace of Spades, all of the adults that work with our children have high expectations for them. And also through the schools, you have your Ace of Diamonds, which provides all these different opportunities for success for our children. So again, restoring the village, school system, Kids at Hope, all working beautifully together. It's like a dance where they're all working together for the benefit of our children. Another committee we have is mentoring. Would you like to speak on the mentoring committee that we have and some things that we have taking place?
Well, I think that, a lot of this has been going on, just as you talked about Kids at Hope. What we found is that many of the things that we put in that pie chart, there were organizations. The chief had Crime Watch and Crime Watch type programs already in place. There were churches and organizations already, fraternities and sororities, already doing some of the mentoring. And that's what made what we were doing what I feel successful in, that all we did was just sort of give everybody sort of a conduit to come together. And we were very impressed with the people who began to step up. I had a young lady come to my office, well, not a young lady, but she's retired, and she just moved back to the area, and she heard about Restoring the Village, and she wanted to come and get involved. And what they're doing now, people are stepping up, looking at this chart and using their expertise. Many of them have retired from other cities, about getting involved with one of these. And so I'm very excited. I hadn't told Chief yet, but I want to get a billboard up that when you come into Fort Pierce, you see Restoring the Village. Fort Pierce is going to become a village. Indian River County Sheriff Deputy Teddy Floyd came to one of our meetings from Indian River County. He came down here in his uniform and admired what we were doing here. And actually, Chief wanted us to come up there and talk with them about it, because, I think we're onto something. And it takes that village not just to raise a child, but to have a healthy and vibrant community.
And I agree. And when you come up with that billboard, let's get a Kids at Hope logo put on that thing.
Let's do it.
Jared, the mentoring is so important in Kids at Hope. As you know, Kids at Hope relies on the ACEs. People that will take an interest in a child, help them define their destiny, what their hope is, and help them get there. And the mentoring is so important. And we find it even in cases where kids come from homes that maybe are dysfunctional and aren't what they should be, and aren't providing the support that a teacher, a law enforcement officer, a bus driver, a neighbor can be that mentor and can help that child through whatever challenge that they face. That's all it takes. So the mentoring is so important. It's vital.
I agree totally. And with your school system, from every level and every different employee with the school system, so many of them are mentors. And it's not in the job description. It's just part of what's naturally taking place with the relationships that are being built. And with the school district motto, every child, every day, I mean, that fits perfectly into it. So we're gonna continue on. Youth activities is another committee from Kids at Hope perspective. Destination Point, hobbies and recreation, and your Ace of Diamonds, opportunities for success. And from the school board's perspective, you know, you have so many different extracurricular activities and clubs that take place after school hours that are, you know, fall directly into that. Government action, Kids at Hope, Destination Point, community and service. And we actually have a group of 7th graders that participate in this project called Project Citizen. And what they do is they voice their concerns that they see going on in their community, and with the assistance of adults that reach out to outside agencies, including government agencies, to try to come up with solutions for those concerns that the children see in their community. Public communication and awareness, Kids at Hope, community and service, again. With the school district, the education channel, shows like this. In the website, there's plenty of great information out there. Another committee we have is community health and awareness. Kids at Hope, Destination Point, community and service. Many of our schools actually do community health fairs. As you know, this month, October, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. There's so many people that have been directly affected with breast cancer. Yes. Myself, I have family members who have been touched with breast cancer, and Dan McCarty actually had a Kids at Hope Breast Cancer Awareness Day where they tied it in with Destination Point Community and Service, wow. But they also tied it in with Destination Education and Career. The community service part of it was with the awareness of breast cancer, where the adults and the children wore pink. They accepted donations for the Cancer Society. And then the education and career part of it was they had the children count the donations, and they related it to the career of banking. So it was real unique how they did it. And the last committee that we have is criminal and juvenile justice. So with Kids at Hope, education and career, Ace of Spades, high expectations, Ace of Diamonds, opportunities for success. And from the school board's perspective, many of our schools have criminal justice classes. Right. You have students that are taking place in teen court, where they go and they're either the defendant or the prosecutor in a case, where they practice being lawyers, which leads them to a career in law. You have your drug court, your truancy court, where you have students that have made bad decisions or have made mistakes, I should say, where the schools work directly with them and law enforcement work directly with them to give them opportunities and help keep them in a structure to get them back on the right path. So, gentlemen, I know we covered a lot today, and I would love to have you guys back on the show. I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to discuss it, the Restoring the Village movement and the relationship with the school district and how it all fits directly into Kids at Hope framework. And again, thank you for your time. I'm your host, Jared Stevens, treasure hunter, Kids at Hope School Community Liaison. And remember, hope keeps motivation alive longer than anything else. Thank you for joining us today. God bless you. Have a great day.